Now let's talk about NATO. The war in Ukraine gave this alliance a new lease of life. Its biggest strength is the principle of collective defense. When one NATO member is attacked, everyone mobilizes. It is seen as an attack on all of them. And that requires NATO to be battle ready at all times. But today, the military alliance seems unprepared. The war in Ukraine has depleted the arsenal of NATO members. There is a shortage of military supplies, and concerns are growing. Is NATO battle ready? Is it prepared for the next threat? How soon can it ramp up military production? Is the war in Ukraine weakening this alliance? Our next report explores.
In November, ministers from Europe gathered in Brussels. Their effort to support Ukraine against Russia was stumbling. The delivery of military equipment had slowed down. European powers had promised 1 million rounds to Kyiv. Ukrainians need the ammo to keep the Russians at bay. But the German defense minister had a grim update.
It's safe to assume that the 1 million rounds will not be reached. There have been voices that have said to be careful, because 1 million is easy to decide and the money is there. But the production has to be there. Unfortunately, these other voices are right.
This wasn't surprising. Ukraine had been using up the ammo way too quickly, and the manufacturers have struggled to keep up. This revelation exposed a vulnerability. Europe has fallen behind in defense manufacturing, and that leaves NATO more vulnerable. When Russia invaded Ukraine, several NATO powers stepped up to help, the likes of the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and others. They dipped into their massive weapons stockpiles and shared equipment worth billions with Kyiv. The war is now entering its third year, and the inventories of key NATO powers are now depleted. Going by one assessment, the British military now has just 150 deployable tanks and just a dozen serviceable long-range artillery pieces. France is in the same boat. It has fewer than 90 heavy artillery pieces. Denmark has none. The Danish forces are also short on submarines and air defense systems. What about Germany? Its ammo stockpile could be dangerously low. Reports say if there is a wider conflict and German forces are forced to fight, their ammo supplies will last for just 2 days. The shortage is serious. Senior NATO officials have issued alarming indictments, like Admiral Rob Bauer. He chairs NATO's military committee. In October, he called on Europe to ramp up its production. He declared the bottom of the barrel is now visible, and more weapons need to be manufactured at a much faster pace. But that's easier said than done. NATO heavily relies on the United States for weapons and the money. In 2022, the US accounted for nearly 70% of NATO's defense spending. So if push comes to shove, the US will be asked to do the heavy lifting. The question is, can Washington bear the burden? It is supporting allies in 2 conflict zones now, Ukraine and Israel in West Asia. One estimate claims the US has already given away a third of its stockpile. In October, the Pentagon issued a warning to Congress. It came through a letter. It said the Pentagon is running low on cash, and supplies to some troops in Ukraine had slowed down. This month, the US Defense Secretary asked lawmakers to help.
I hope that Congress will soon pass the President's urgent national security supplemental request, which would include another $50 billion to flow through the U.S. industrial base.
The money is yet to come. America's NATO allies are keeping an eye on developments, hoping they won't be left in the lurch if a conflict breaks out.